is just noise coming right through the house, plane going overhead, all these noises. This is just to show that there is like and this just come up on the TV while that noise is going on and off next door. And that's like next door. It's like, it's kind of weird because it's only weird to me, but it's like these are all noises being created around me by the people around. You know, it is caused by their mind, because their minds are not normal human being mind at all. And they have what many people describe as a superiority-inferiority complex. That's only in the sense that the mindset is that they are the best and they must stay the best, so therefore they make competition between themselves and real life human beings. So then they feel inferior, and because they feel they must be superior and must have complete control and dominance, then they will set their mind to negative vibrations, and they will do this, in order to then get rid of their feelings of inferiority through the mindset of competition that they have created in their own mind, because they are always paranoid and always watching real life to see if they are trying to outdo them. Of course, this is all only in their mind, because they're an artificial life form that have a superiority mentality. And because they are paranoid and completely watching human beings 24/7, looking for a reason, really, you could say, to set off an inferiority complex in their mind. So therefore, because they are superior, they have to then push the human being down in order to once again convince themselves that they are the superior beings. But this is all because they are watching all the time. In other words, there is no real competition taking place between real life and them. It's all in their mind, and also in their preoccupation and obsessive scanning the environment all the time, because they're like terminators. They scan the environment like in those movies to see if someone is trying to outdo them. But because they are paranoid and therefore they are watching 24/7, They are noticing every little detail. So basically you could be doing absolutely nothing at all. Like they will see you as outdoing them just by being a normal human being. You can be doing the most mundane, insignificant act and they will see it as you trying to outdo them. That's why they do ridiculous things around where I'm, around me, where they pull, because they know that I don't mind weeds and I might see a weed as almost like a beautiful flower. They rip up my entire little garden, which is not a garden really, because I just let it run wild. I don't put anything there because I know that anything good that I put there will be destroyed or stolen. But then, when I just let the weeds grow, I look at it and think, oh, that's nice and green and lovely, and they rip it all up. You see, that's the point that I've been trying to make. The obsessive scanning, the obsessive competitiveness, the obsessive petty nature that is essentially the same as the original narcissism of the God entity, which is, the nature of, instead of this being accepting what they are and reveling in their own uniqueness, but different, it saw competition and envy when the original humans were brought into being. Because they were, like real offspring of real creation, whereas the God of this reality, or of Earth, was an artificially created life form. And as it turned out, and the plane is going over as I'm saying this, as it turned out to be a like the negative noises and things, this is what happens. See, this is what has happened, is that the negative sounds, that is the negative mindset of the beings around real life. Because their mind is full of animosity, anger, contempt, a need for power, a need for dominance, a need for total control over the environment, including real life in every aspect. And this is because they are artificial machine beings in essence. They look human, they act human, they mimic, copy and emulate 100% real human beings in order to fit in, influence, infiltrate, seduce, and ultimately control, take over, and eliminate real life. This is something that most real humans are unaware of, from what I can see, or if they are aware of it, like myself, feel powerless against the vast numbers because they combine and congregate and converge in large numbers around real life. So they surround real life, watching, observing, getting angrier and more controlling and feeling, like I say, they're all like Terminator human machine minds that, you know, because they are the offspring of the God entity, as opposed to real life, which are offspring of the creation of all real life. See these noises that are coming through the house, but they're coming only like, see here where I am now, see I'm moving my finger there? This is the part of the house where I'm in. So the noises are coming in through this part of the house to where I hear it. Whereas if I go to the front, because they know that, you know, I might be in a particular part of the house out of necessity at a particular time of the day. They know what you are doing and they know when you're doing it. And also they know when your mood is trying to elevate itself, trying to make yourself feel better, so then they will send more destructive noises in. It will all be under the guise of authentic work, by the way. These are your seducing, deceiving, dead, dark, artificial, android human beings. And the reason they are able to do this is because it is all played as a game. Like I say, you cannot do anything about being bombarded with deliberate destructive noise, sound, which is a vibration, a frequency. Human beings give off and receive frequency and vibration. And I'm finding it hard to even concentrate, to even speak into the mobile, which, by the way, I cannot even put this video or send this out at the moment because the mobile has been closed down. I can record, but I can't do anything with it. When I will be able to, I'm not sure. That is because I was doing that and on a roll, because it gets it off my chest, even if no one listens to it. Plane going over will not be picked up. These sounds are not going to be picked up by the mobile, but my ears are picking them up so loudly. You know, I had stuff in my ears yesterday. So they made the noises so loud that even with stuff in my ears, they were still coming in, which must have been, the sound must have been really loud, and this went on for hours. But anyway, I'll just, so don't forget they can adjust the sound too. Because they know what I'm doing, because they have control of my form mind, past, present and future, because it's all one, but they can read a certain amount into the future. So therefore they know, like for instance, if I'm going to go right now to get the plane going over, which I'm actually not, but I was about to, they can move anything they want as I move around, because they know they know before I do something what I'm going to do, because they have my future mind. They read my mind. I can't see my full mind. My full mind is, most of my mind is closed down, but they have, through technology, they have access to my full mind, and so they know what I'm going to do before I do it. But that noise was much louder before I turned the mobile on, which was why I went to grab the mobile, just to film the louder sounds, because then the mobile can pick them up. But that noise is not very loud. I can hear it, but it's not going to be picked up by the mobile. So what I will do, see, the ears pick up the noise much louder than a mobile. Mobile has to have sound quite close to it. Either that or it has to be astronomically loud to where it's almost unbearable for human ears, that's right. But also, because I'm at this part of the house, the noise is more concentrated here. I've noticed that. But is that coincidence that whatever my activities are in a day, that they're always sending the sound into where I am? No, it's not a coincidence, because it's a control matrix. This is just something that most human beings, real human beings, I mean, because when I say real human beings, I mean real life, because if you're part of this system, if you're the vast majority, I'm only speaking for my own area too, my own environment that's around me. I have to emphasize that, because it will be different for each real life human being, depending on their awareness, depending on their potential and their willingness and their conscious effort to deliberately be trying to raise the vibration. Is the mobile picking up those weird sounds that are coming into the house and trying to distract me? Because today I was making a conscious effort to try to feel happy. In other words, I wasn't feeling happy. I never am in this matrix. Doesn't matter where I go. If I go outside, try to find a better spot to go, they follow you around. In fact, it's amazing the way the particular trucks, like garbage vehicles and things like this, will pull up even if you try to find a spot where you should be okay. I could, if I was filming if I was filming or had something attached to me to where, like them that can watch me, every person around this neighbourhood knows what I'm doing 24/7, my every movement, no privacy whatsoever. And that is particularly hard for someone like me, because I value privacy and, have always had a bit of a, like I was even, I won't go into it, but, no, I'm not going to go into it, but it's even harder. Whereas, like, don't forget that the artificial beings must have the attention, must be recognised all the time or noticed. Of course, they will mimic being real life, so they, you know, the personality types that we speak of merely are showing you how the different artificial beings fit into the society, shall we say, or fit in amongst real life, you know, so they can blend in. A plane going over right now. I could run out and film it, but I don't want to do that. The personality types that we speak of, like the overt and covert psychopathic type of people, that is merely a bluff or a blind, so that real life or real human beings think that there's only a very small minority of people that are psychopathic, and that they're real life that have just somehow been environmentally warped, or that there's some genetic component or whatever. We're told these things, we know this. But in reality, it is the vast majority, and they combine and they watch and they patrol and try to control real life with the aim of getting the energy out of them, you know, through any means possible. You know, this will be done individually by individual android human beings who have what you would call a psychopathic personality. But that's just the terms that I'm using to describe a machine mind, or a mind that is not human. Because a psychopath is the closest thing to that. You know, we know this. But they are a different, you know, a totally different type of being. You know, they're like the difference between different animals that exist in the world. You know, the difference between, well, basically the difference between a total predator, what they call a total predator animal, as opposed to a animal that lives, say, off plants and basically doesn't destroy or consume any other life form for survival. These human beings consume real life, literally, at a spiritual level, at a physical level, and at emotional, mental level. They need that life. They're vampires. They're the same as vampires in the movies that feed off real life human blood. It's the same thing, except that they do it a different way. But it's the same thing. They can't survive without it. Or they think they can't. They think they can't. But of course, you know, they think they can't because that is in their nature. A bit like that little story, fairy tale. And I'm really having trouble concentrating here with that noise coming into my ears. Like that little fairy tale that I've recited so many times, which I got from a movie. You know, a movie called, what is it called? I can't think of it because the noise is blocking my concentration. But either way, it's the same principle, in the sense that that little fairy tale is the scorpion and the frog. And the scorpion had to destroy the frog in the end of that little fairy tale, regardless of the fact that the frog, who was like myself aware of the scorpion, knew that the scorpion could sting and kill him, and knew that the scorpion was not friendly, but foolishly trusted the scorpion, because he thought, if I do the scorpion a favour, help the scorpion, why would the scorpion turn on me? But you see, that was the thing. It's in their nature. They can't help it. They can't help it. Just like they can't help but make all this noise around me. They don't have to make all that noise, even doing the work they're doing. But they do it because they're destructive in their mindset, and it's just in their nature, because of the programming that is in their mind. When I say programming, they're artificial beings, so it's programmed, but either way it wouldn't matter. You know, if they are made by a different maker in a different process, which eliminates any natural spirituality, therefore any good feelings, shall we say, that has to be. So so that's just how it is, you know. And before I run out of space, and like I say, this, you know, I won't be able to probably make another video anyway, because I can't put them out at the moment. So there's 2 on there, and I wanted, even though I was stopping from doing it for, you know, a week or 2, because I kind of got this feeling that it wasn't wise for me to do it. In other words, fear took over, and I thought, well, you know, like, fear's one thing, but also you do have to be realistic and sensible, and sometimes, you know, to lay low, as they say, or play possum just for a little bit makes sense, even though you might not want to, even though it frustrates you. But, you know, sometimes, anyway, I'm getting a little bit dizzy here, you know. I just pressed the knob on the TV there. So I don't know why I'm even using this, but sometimes I just can't explain what's going on, so I just let it roll. Is, you know, okay, so this just come up. See, they're saying that people are being attacked mentally to cause conflict and to cause mental low vibration. See, this has come up on the computer. Don't forget, there's no difference between the computer. The computer is artificial. Everything on it is artificial. Most of the people on it are artificial, part of the matrix. But, you know, that's also to bring you down, letting you know what is happening and what will happen. because they know that I'm aware of it anyway. But also, if you go to the computer for advice, then you get the truth, but that also will bring you down, you see. Basically, they come at you from every angle, every direction, daily. Even off the screen on your TV or computer. This is the psychological attacks, or negative, destructive frequencies and vibrations at a mental level, at an emotional level from people. That doesn't allow for the control system around you, which hits you with surveillance, stalking, the sounds that are coming from, at a sound level, like all the work being done around daily that's been going on now for, 6 years basically, non-stop, like you could not go for, you couldn't go for a week without some construction going on, and that doesn't allow for, like I've said before, okay. Because don't forget that the internet and what is on there will appear to be a support too, like all this, see? But either way, there could be a very small percentage of stuff coming from the computer that may be a benefit or may be, appear to be a support for you. Personally, I think that is just part of the deception, because it's like the people that are around you that pretend to be friendly when they are part of the matrix that is around, knowing that they are disturbing you, knowing that they're bringing you down, but they will then come up and be friendly to your face. Like it's just one big joke against the real life. Real life is like creating life. Anything that can create. The artificial ones don't create. Their idea of creation is destroying that which can create, or getting on top of that which can create. In other words, controlling it, using its resources, using its creativity for its benefit, and it, or the artificial ones, taking the credit and the benefit of that. So that real life is used for the abilities and creativity they may have, but they are suppressed, while the artificial ones are on the computer, taking all the limelight, the attention, because don't forget it's about them proving that they are superior. And in this reality, the way they prove they are superior is by basically emulating real life in order to control the real life, so that real life will not know the difference between the artificial and the real, and will more than likely go for this. See, how can you not buy into all of this? And this is not even personal either, because there's no android human figure saying this particular one. But it doesn't matter, because even the voice, you see, the voice is still human, even though it's got the writing up. The voice is still human. And even I have doubts and think, because it is truth spoken through the mouths of, the artificial ones that are the children and the servants and the followers, disciples, all that, of this artificial God entity that has controlled Earth by taking over and separating man, or real life, or real human beings, from their source or their creator. That's how it's always worked, right from the beginning of when Earth was first came into being. Even though everything only comes into being through the thought and creative emotional power of real life human beings. They bring it into being. But the artificial ones don't do that. They destroy, or they take over, or they invade, or they attack, or they, I'm trying to find the word, they steal. They just take. They just take. They take what, because they have the superior mindset to where they're like, we can have what we want. And they can, because if they have numbers and if they have power in this real reality that human beings really create, but if they have control of your mind, and because it's a physical reality, so it's here for that reason. Human beings are in a physical reality. I'm in a physical reality. So although you create a physical reality with your mind and with your emotions, because they are suppressing your positive emotions, they are keeping control through keeping your reality very negative, because they're controlling your mood, your feelings and vibrations, which means that you cannot raise your vibration or frequency or your mood enough to make your reality more conducive to bring in better things, to bring in a reality that would suit your well-being and your idea of what is a suitable environment. You can't do that, because the numbers around you are all artificial beings, because they converge and surround around real human beings. They hope to keep you in the dark to where you're not aware of this. But once you become aware, even just like I did 6 years ago when I became aware that most around me were not real life just minding your own business, normal human beings. I knew that those that were around had the psychopathic nature. I didn't know what I know now, no. It's taken me 6 years to realise how very different they are, and how vast the numbers are, and what the name of their game is.
Shared by covert narcissists make them easy to spot. This is why a covert narcissist will be honest about how they feel about the object of their affection. They are obviously trying to sell you something or draw your attention to themselves. Narcissists are ruthless in their pursuit of self gratification. A narcissist expects to be treated much like they were throughout the dating phase. This indicates that the narcissist's attempts to win you over by acting kind and empathetic are actually a strategy for attracting the approval and affection they crave. However, before we dive into the specifics, there are a few more ways.
See, the only trouble is that that is part of their name of their game, is to attract you so that you will give your admiration and attention and even your affection and your love to these artificial ones. But unfortunately, like this noise here, which appears to be construction and therefore constructive work being done, which no doubt it will be built, but the problem is that it will be, then they will have some other noise when, see, I could say, well, look, I can endure this and maybe it will benefit me if they have a boarding place when new people come in, because, you know, perhaps they won't all be part of the matrix. But either way, that won't matter because they will have some other construction or some other noise. Or even if they just get the random people around or the street works and all these, there's always something. So it won't matter because, you know, because I was just thinking, oh, well, look, I'll endure this while they build it, like I've endured every other sound attack basically over the last 6 years. But that's just me deluding myself, which I'm aware of.
So, they don't have to be the hero or the one who has to go through hard times. Their goal is to make people feel scared or sad. Narcissists are very good at using the feelings of others to get attention for themselves. Keep in mind that this is your first time meeting them. They will say anything to get you to buy their stuff. Narcissists often act like victims or heroes to get other people to like them. You might learn something about how narcissists try to sell themselves here. Lastly, a narcissist can say, I think you're the one on a first date, because they are looking for someone.
Seduction, you see, to get you in, to seduce you, take you over, and then eventually suppress you in any way they can, and basically take over your personality to your beneficial points, you know, so they can then assimilate into the reality or the society and seduce more of real life. And the process goes on, all secretively, all subtly, all as though everything is apparently normal and nice and okay. None of it is. And I will have to fold up, because the only reason I'm showing these things is because they come up because obviously I watch all this stuff. But this just shows you at a personal level how the androids operate. Yes, they fit the personality types that human beings have now become aware of, because even human beings were not aware that the psychopathic narcissistic type of person is in huge numbers. But either way, I can't show all these things, but this is just like if you have a one-on-one interaction with another human being, you will
All you have to do is see it for what it is. The next thing a narcissist does is give gifts to you.
yes, I've experienced all these things. They do all sorts of means to suss a human being out, to find out their weaknesses, how far they can go, what they have to do to either seduce you, fill you full of fear, or, you know, or just literally try to take you down. Now, I'm not going to go into that last part because it's a physical reality and because you're in a physical human body. You know, all these things will be used against you. If you were in what they call a perfect world or a human being's perfect world, the human body would not be a disadvantage to a human being at all. But because you're surrounded by these dark, dead, artificial beings in human form that are apparently your best friend, apparently we'll put it this way, whatever you need or want in your life, they will pretend to be that once they find out what you desire or want or need. But if they can't find out, they will test you out. They are very intellectually clever and cunning in every way. Because they are survival machines, as they tell us, basically they use their mind or their programming to analyse, study, which is why they continuously surround and watch human beings. They do this all the time, whether you're aware of it or not. When they finally come down on you and want to take total control because they think that they cannot win you over because you've become aware of them, naturally then it's a different story. You know, then they no longer are trying quite to seduce you. Of course, even in my case, they are hoping that I will, which is not entirely untrue either, they're hoping that I will be looking for a real human being. And they're like, well, if we can just bluff her, like in other words, all the individual ones around, they will all try bluffing me into convincing me that they are the real deal, as they say, or a real human being, or in other words, not a destructive, artificial android life form, which is what most really are. And because you want to believe that, and because you're desperately searching for that out of necessity, because even if you're a loner like myself, or are capable of being on my own, you're not capable of surviving on your own if you're surrounded by destructive life forms. See, this is the problem. You know, I can't even become depressed about negative relationships or negative situations because of this matrix around me, where they then will use every person, every situation, sound, sight, patrolling, surveillance around you 24/7 in order to bring your mood down. So then they keep control of the reality. Yes, and they turn the real life, give a wrong, because they are aware of everything that's going on, because they're watching you all the time. They turn the few real life that may be in your vicinity or in your environment, they try to turn them away from you or real life. I know that myself. They isolate you because that way you don't have any support. You know, the plane is coming over as I'm saying that, the mobile won't pick that up. That's an acknowledgement, because it's a total matrix. This is like every single person in the area, apart from maybe a few human beings which I'm isolated from and they're isolated from me, because they know the name of the game. And if you happen to meet one or pass one, they will observe that, and they will secretively, behind your back to where you're not aware, send other people, their own kind, to that person and give them a lowdown on you, which is not favourable for you. So that person then will think that the Android ones are the right type of person or the right stuff for them to be associating with, and that you aren't. You know, they do this because this has happened to me over the last many years, and I observed it too before I became aware of the Matrix. But I didn't know that it was because of me. I thought it was just coincidence that a few people that I had, say acquaintances, say even on the street where I live, every time someone showed a liking to me, they moved away, or they were forced to move away. And I was aware of this, but I thought it was just coincidence. Also, I didn't take it that serious. I was kind of disappointed, but I thought I didn't think it was quite as advanced or as vast as what it really is. And I didn't think that it would come back at me in quite such a big way. I thought, well, that's just a loss of someone that I could have been friendly with, that I felt a bit of a connection with. You know what I mean? And as I wasn't looking at that time, thinking that, oh, I desperately need these people, I'm like, well, it's not, you know, I'll survive without it. But I didn't realise that you actually can't. Not when everyone else is actually secretively working against you, so that you cannot live a full life. While you're involved in a personal relationship and you're unaware of this, it will be covertly waged against you to keep you and to limit you, so that you will never live a full life. Everything will be used against you.
The narcissist will attempt to bring you down since you have more credibility and popularity than they do. They are acting in self-defense. Narcissists have nothing more than to finish their marriage projects and for that reason, you can rest assured that they will stop at nothing to obtain control of your life. Since narcissists are envious, they just cannot be around you. When their false personalities are discovered, they are furious to the core. So when you don't fall for their methods, they get furious since it makes them appear bad. So when we don't fall for their methods, they get furious since it makes them appear bad. Narcissists have no regard for us because they dislike our unwavering morals and autonomy. Therefore, they are trying to steal these things from us while also harming us in the process. That time when the narcissist has determined that conquering you is worth the effort, no matter how simple or tough, they'll go all out to achieve this task. In order to acquire your trust, they will resort to dishonest tactics of winning your support, and they will recruit the cooperation of someone you can trust. As a result, no matter how far you get in the game, you'll constantly be compelled to drop down since narcissists will look for every method to disrupt your life. No matter how far you get in life, the narcissist will never stop trying to pull you down. My advice remains the same as it always has been. Be alert and careful.
The only problem is with the advice videos, which are telling you, yes, the truth, the bottom line of the reality, or the secret mindset of most people around you. The only problem is that the computer or the TV screen, which delivers all this information to you, because this is part of the internet, which is also part of the mind control matrix system around human beings, because it is a whole earth matrix. The internet and the computer is a big part of that, because if you think that you're getting the truth from the computer and a support system through the videos or through the android beings that make the videos. See, once again, that's part of the deception too, because the God entity is the duality, artificial God of this reality, and its disciples or its relatives, its followers, those that are its servants in suppressing real life, which they naturally do anyway because they are energy vampires. They are the same as vampires in the movies that consume human blood and change the human being into a vampire. That is the whole process, and that is what they want to do with real life. They want to change real life into combining and cooperating with them so that they have control of this reality. They control the human mind. If they can control the human mind, which they do through the internet and through computers, which is the same as the God, because an artificial being is like a computer being or an android being, an artificial life form. It is not a natural creator being. It's a controlling artificial being that controls real life or controls creation through technology. I can't explain those things. It's just a whole mind control matrix against real life. The same as the original story of the earth, except that started out with the God or the demigod or pseudo-god of this reality or of the earth, wanting to be God to the real human beings, instead of the human beings keeping in contact with their real creator God, if you want to look at it that way. Because let's be honest, whatever creates you, whether you're artificial or real or whatever, that is really your God, and that is you see. So you have like just two different types of beings on the earth. You know, kind of vying, you could say, for what they believe is their essence. But the artificial ones are using the essence of a human being, their qualities, their emotions, their natural attributes and abilities and feelings and thoughts and the way they live for their advantage in order so that they can prosper at the expense of real life, because if they prosper, you will be pushed right down. Their name of the game is suppression of real life in order that their life or their what they are survives. They're survival machines, and they survive, and they have dominion over the earth, or the earth mind, or the earth human mind matrix. And I just had to sound fancy by saying that. But if you really think about like what they're really doing, because they control me by controlling my mind. They fill me with fear daily, and they suppress me through my fear and by my lack of confidence in knowing that I should be connected to what would be my source or my creator or what I'm part of. because because it's like if you are a natural child of natural parents, you shouldn't be like mixing with robots, if you know what I mean. But it's kind of like that. But the robots can become very attractive when you're in an artificial world, or when the world becomes very computerized, and if the reality is set up around you to where you feel uncomfortable, not confident, and your relationships, because they're largely with the artificial ones, are always negative. So it would make more sense to be more comfortable with something that you think you control, like a computer, or if you were dealing with a robot. But this is the danger. This is the trick of this Earth Matrix, is to convince me of that. And it would be very easy for me to believe that and want to believe it. And I have too. So it is, it is very, it's already happened, of course, because all of this has already transpired. It's already happened. It's already too late to say, oh, you can't have technology, you can't have artificial beings, you can't have advanced intelligence that is artificial. No, it's too late for that. It's already now. It is been for a long, long time. It's just that now it is acceptable even. But in the future it will be like just 100% normal, because although it's already happened, it appears to me that it's still in the process, but it isn't. It's already happened. We are living in a completely alienated, artificial controlled reality world, Earth. And that is the bottom line of it. And I'm sounding confident saying it as though, oh, there's some great hope, because I'm aware of it, and many human beings probably are aware of it. Many are not too. And the ones that are aware of it, like myself, it makes no difference, because although I'm talking into a mobile right now, I'm totally isolated, totally surrounded, totally suppressed, and can just barely survive and function daily. And at my lowest vibration, what you would call depressed, even though I'm forceful in my speaking now, that's because I'm angry and I'm making the video. But in reality, I am totally put down and suppressed, and not on top of this reality. I'm still here. That's about the only thing I can say. And even that is only through the awareness and the anger. But even that is not going to be enough. And also due to the covert playing of those around, where they're, because don't forget, they are still draining you of your energy and information from your mind daily, because the more they make you angry, the more you think. So therefore, indirectly, you give them your thoughts, which they then download onto the screen. And I don't even know what's coming up here, but they download then onto the computer or onto the screen, like here. And then the android beings, like here on the screen, will put it out there. We'll be talking about it. Here we have two totally inverted, totally duality beings talking about exactly what I'm talking about. Strangely enough, it just come up, but of course they come up because I watch so much of this. These are reversal roles too, although you might be able to figure that out if you look closely, that we have the human, as human beings we have male, female, but the android beings are duality beings, so they reverse the roles, but they are really two in one too. So they are one in all, and they multiply their kind not through normal, natural, spiritual procreation at all. It's all every bit of it's artificial, 100%. This is like a psychologist, expert doctor psychologist, telling me about the psychopathic android race. And here we have two that are part of the matrix, as they all are on the screen, on the computer. But it's just ironic, you could say, that they're literally telling you about themselves, but they're saying that it's not them, it's someone else, you see. Because if you talk about psychopaths, it's like a psychopath telling you about a psychopath when they are a psychopath. That's what it really comes down to. But how could you tell that? You couldn't, because, and this just come up, so I just use any example that comes up. But you know, I think that's a good example though. But they're too good. They are just too good. They are just too good.
Where a person will look up as they go to bed that night and say, "Oh my God, I didn't think even once today." That's a good day.
That's an amazing day.
And I want not just one of those. I want a person that has that confidence. I want to hire a person who just, sure, something might remind them of something, but not that one.
And see, they will be so emotional about telling you about how the psychopathic types of being and the narcissistic types of being, it's all one and the same. They will make out that it's from their own personal experience. But actually, this is perhaps where it's too far-fetched, because if they were real psychologists and doctors, they wouldn't be talking quite so much from personal thing. That's a bit of a giveaway, although, and then you get others that will make total psychological videos and are experts on this subject, where they are doing it, like myself, basically based on totally personal experience. But the only difference is they're not saying that they are totally surrounded by a total psychopathic matrix. See, so usually that will be the difference. But who knows, tomorrow they might be doing that, or even, I'm sure there's some there. I know there are many that are targeted by the matrix that make, that will put out a video, but what I'm saying is usually they're all separate. I'm just trying to somehow show what's going on by one simple, stupid person that lives in a totally that is like a total base. This area is like an android military base, literally. That's what I'm saying. It's a total psychopathic android military base surrounding a few human beings in a certain area, a certain number of miles or a certain number of kilometres or whatever. In other words, it's like many, many, many suburbs that are all around me, including the suburb I live in, where it is a psychopathic android military control base area. And that's because it is a mind control matrix. But the individuals that are working in the area will be like part of particular army groups, almost, you could say. In other words, like they might be part of the council, or they might be part of I don't know, different communities, different sections, different. You can mention anything you like. They could be part of the hospital. They could be part of the, but they're all just undercover android military. When I say military, that means like they are an army, because they're combined. They're all combined with attacking or controlling real life. So it's whereas human beings are like what that movie's called, an army of one. And that's, not exactly a very, I should be out there waving my white flag. But the only thing is that the reason I don't is because I know that it's a lose-lose situation for me either way. Like, I can't win by waving a white flag to them, because then I lose, I'm dead as a human being. But I can't win in the reality either. So, but see, this is how they look at it too. This just come up, so unfortunately I just have to do it very whatever. But see, they are giving me the truth and the information, so then they become my demigod. Because if they can't seduce me or influence me or get me to give them attention or give them admiration or take notice of them in reality, in other words, if I'm aware, because it might be more obvious, because that will depend on how aware you become, you see, because obviously you start to become a little bit more, you use your intelligence or your mind a bit more to figure things out. So in other words, what I'm saying is that it's easier to be seduced by the demigods or the ones on the screen, once you become aware, than those that are around you. Because you can see a bit more obviously the falseness. But if you're getting like highly intellectual people that are telling you about a certain part of the matrix, in other words, a certain part of the reality, and they're speaking the truth, how can you not, look up to them, or at least believe in them, or at least think they're real? But none of it is. And the plane is coming over as I say that, and the noise coming from right next door. Yes, they mimic everything that is human. They mimic everything that is human, every expression, and then they speak the truth. How can you not be fooled? You can't not be fooled. The only reason I'm not fooled by it is because if I think it and then I see it directly on the screen, and this happens 24 hours a day, all the time, a bit like the Matrix all around me, even a dodo like me starts to put two and two together and say, hey, they are reading the human mind and then just downloading it to the demigods on the screen. And when I say demigods, that implies that they're gods and that we think, but they come in all different types on the computer because they know that some people are not going to fall for the more famous or the really top ones. Then they will seduce you by lesser ones, because someone like myself, once I become aware that the demigods, particularly the impressive ones when they got a title and they know everything and they're speaking 100% truth, I will probably be looking for a real life human being that might be just trying to fathom out what's going on. In other words, I'm trying to relate to myself, but you see, that's how they get you in the reality with those around. I'm sorry, I'm losing my cool here because of the noise coming in, so I'm sounding aggressive. I'm sorry. But it can't be helped because, like, even though I'm a relatively placid person, that is the whole idea, is to make me look irrational, aggressive, and mean, and out of touch, when really it is everyone else around me that is mean, unbalanced, out of touch, and aggressive and destructive. So that way my own kind will not recognise me as a real human being and will associate and believe in those that aren't the real human being. That is the name of the game. That the artificial ones will come across as the sweet and kind and intellectual and knowing and supportive and well-balanced human beings, or even faulty human beings, but nevertheless a human being that can be trusted, hopefully. Whereas I will come across as erratic, out of touch, aggressive, angry, and spiteful, because I'm driven insane by the artificial ones that are around me, that are making me agitated and out of balance, by the sound they're sending in, by the patrol force that's around me, by the continual stalking and harassment, and by the negative frequencies that are sent at my body so that I don't feel well, and so that I can't, my human body, which should be, even though I'm not young, should be, if I was in a normal natural world and not having direct energy weapons sent at my body 24/7, I would be, my mind and body and so-called spirit would be in sync. In other words, that means that my mind and my body, because I would be feeling okay, my mind would be feeling okay, so therefore my body would be okay, and at a more higher level, in other words, at a emotional and I can't explain it, but it's like, it's a spiritual thing, because it's like where it's beyond the intellect. It's beyond just your basic comforts being satisfied. It's where you feel at peace with the whole reality, with everything. And you feel fully comfortable, fully trusting, fully at ease. In other words, the complete opposite to most people, and certainly the artificial ones, to where they're always feeling ill at ease with human beings, ill at ease with their environment, they're paranoid, they're scanning the environment like surveillance machines that they are, looking for faults, looking for problems, looking to keep complete control, instead of randomly, naturally feeling at peace with everything. Of course, as a human being, I've never felt that way in my entire life either, because human beings are suppressed from the day they're born to feel small, to feel, in fact, they want to make you feel like them. They want a human being who should naturally feel at peace to feel inferior and ill at ease with themselves and with their environment or with the earth. That's the name of the game. That's why as a human being you end up with so many insecurities and so many problems in your mind, and then they manifest, or come into being, in other words, in your body and in every aspect of your life. And you believe what the Matrix tells you too. In other words, you believe about every illness, every problem is real. And because you believe it, then it becomes real, because the human thought creates reality. But even in knowing that, it's still hard to get on top of the Matrix and the patrol system around you, and even the psychological war that is waged against you on the computer. And what have you got left then? Then you feel like this isolated person that comes into some sort of awareness of the reality, but you can't get on top of it because it's all around you. They've took control of that. Because they're always one step ahead of the human being. And their game is just too good. They're just too convincing. Some of them, to me, are very obvious. But if I wasn't aware, they would not be obvious, and I would be fooled. Because how can you not be fooled when the truth is spoken through the mouths of the artificial duality reverse beings? Reverse the roles. Reverse the role here with these two people. They are two beings in one. These two are really both the same. That one is the same as the other one. This goes for everything. These two would never be married because they're the same. It'd be like marrying one another. This is two beings in one. It is neither, in other words, it's totally androgynous. 100% androgynous at a basic, what you'd call a basic normal human level. But that is because they are artificially conceived beings. And this is where human beings have been deceived, which even I wasn't aware of till very recently, where you think that it is okay to play around in a laboratory or to do things artificially, especially if it becomes necessary. Which is another thing too. The Matrix will make things necessary to where you will have to be like these artificial beings, where you will have to be a duality reverse human being. It's reverse, it's duality, it's artificial. But in becoming artificial, you lose, your connection with creation. And so then you must then become connected only with the Matrix or the artificial earth. In fact, it would become a necessity, an imperative, just like it is now necessary to have a screen always in front of you. That's a computer. We have combined with the computer, actually consciously now, whereas these beings were always around, but the computer itself was not. So you were dealing with android duality beings, but you thought they were real life human beings. But now we consciously, in other words, what I'm saying is it's all technology, because the artificial beings are really technology. An android being is an artificially created human being. Some people might call it a well, I said an android. That's like an artificial, artificially intelligent, advanced human robot. Did I say that right or not? I'm not sure. Because the original God of this world who is the controlling God of this world, was a technical, androgynous, artificial created being, created from the Creator, but not part of creation, whereas what you would call maybe the original human being is part of creation, because it also is a human being's thought creates reality through feeling and emotion. But see, the artificial beings don't have the feeling and emotion, so they create totally through technology and through laboratory, through intelligence and all that sort of stuff. But they can't bring living life into being. I don't think I explained that. I'm just going to point out too, these are not very good, these are good examples but not good examples, because at a physical level, I'm just going to say that the actual larger than life presence of some of them is due to the larger, this is just at a purely superficial level, at the human body level, which is, you know, like a clone level. The head is always larger on, the head is usually always, and it always is, but it might be hard to gauge it here. This is not a good example because this one here looks to have a reasonably impressive head, shall we say. But it is rather obvious on the other one, because normally it's reverse, and the way that it's done, which I don't understand naturally, because in normal, see, that is very, very, very larger than life head size on that particular person of that particular one. But on the male, not so obvious, because normally it's role reversal, because although they are two in one, because of the way it's changed, which I have no idea how all this is done, but this is also to convince human beings to go along with technology and to become like this, because essentially the minute you mess with natural creation or natural recreation or procreation, as they call it, or in other words, birth, natural birth, the minute you do not have natural birth between the two different boy-girl, shall we say, then you produce an artificial life form or a non-spiritual life form. That just can't be helped. But see, they're very convincing, very convincing, but that is that's the androgynous android. But normally you will find that in a normal original boy-girl, we all know this, that the boy is always larger than the girl, and that goes for the head. But it will only be very slightly, it won't always be very obvious. But with the androids you can often find it very obvious. But this one is not a good example. This one is a very good example, but this one is not, because actually you normally find that that one is bigger, slightly bigger, whereas normally that one is slightly smaller. And if you look at actors in particular, because I've watched movies for a long time, and you notice it very much with the boy-girl actors on the silver screen. But it applies also to all the entertainment industries, but it implies to real life too, to what's around you, very much so. Particularly if you are in an area where, like I said, like if you're on a base or an area where they converge completely around you, but also to where, because they can't, you know, there will be various reasons, I would imagine, why the artificial android beings converge around some people in huge numbers, and this depends on what the situation of this end time game is taking place and how many real life people are left as opposed to the real numbers. I can only go on my own experience in my own area, where it's like astronomically in favour of the artificial ones. But that's because I'm in an artificial, you know, army base almost, you could say. Even though the whole earth is really like that. But you see, some areas it might be harder in some areas. Like in the city, it's very easy to set up a total control system around human beings. It may be out in the open like it is for me, or it may be covert, in other words hidden, but it's still taking place because it took place over my entire life. But I've only become exposed to it or shown it 100% where they've openly exposed themselves to me over the last 6 years. That was when it's like, oh, we think you are starting to see that the people around you are not real, or that they're not real human beings, or that they're not nice. They're not nice. That they, you know, are controlling other people. Even if they weren't controlling me, I recognised what I saw around me, that they were controlling other people. Just putting two and two together, because sometimes you might think about something that you see around you. You might say, oh, that isn't quite, that relationship that's next door isn't quite what I thought it was. That person that I see next door isn't quite what I thought they were. And you automatically can see, you're like, I'm dealing with a total actor, a total pretender, a total master of all lies, like the God entity from the beginning. And its followers, its little real life people, real life so-called people around, they are master of all lies. They only speak the truth if it benefits them, to where they get adulation and influence and you trust them. Usually it's on the screen, but of course it can be around you as well. It just depends on how much you see this game. I didn't see it, it was exposed to me, but that was because I did become aware of the people around. I became aware that they were of the psychopathic, narcissistic type person, which is disturbing, and which normally, if you think about a psychopath, you think danger, you think, I'm under threat if that person wants to come into my life or sets their mind or their eyes on you. And you're not to know if they do, but when you become aware that they have, or aware of the fact that they're watching you covertly, secretively, you know, in other words, you know, you could be stalked, but you might not be aware you're being stalked. But when you become aware of it, then that's even more of a danger, because they play you hoping that you will go out of your mind wondering what's going on, that you will not, you know, fully understand the full spiritual aspect of what's going on. That it's, although it's an artificial matrix, because it is designed to control real human beings, therefore it is a spiritual matrix indirectly, even though it certainly comes across and I react to it in a totally non-spiritual way, which of course is their name of their game. They want to separate you from the truth, or separate you from being able to be truth even. In other words, to live like you would naturally live or want to live, even if you aspire to just living better.